What's going on, family? What's going on? What's going down? What's shaking? Welcome to another episode of Nonfiction with Jonathan Soul. So, I call the show Nonfiction because I started out talking about comics. If you go on my YouTube channel, you'll see some reviews about comic books, like 2 years worth. I almost talked to everybody that I wanted to talk to, almost. The reason why I call it nonfiction is because some of the stuff I'm going to tell you seems like science fiction, right? Drones attacking drones over in the Ukraine and things of that sort. But I wanted to hip you up to something a little bit more prescient as far as, people who live in the United States. So everybody heard of the Authorization Act, right? The National Authorization Act, National Authorization Defense Act, whatever it's called. They slipped in a piece of code. I'm in IT, so I call it code, where they're going to automatically register all the males who reside in the United States into Selective Service. For y'all who don't know what Selective Service is, it's the draft list. Okay, when we think of the draft, we think of you got the letter in the mail, you got to report to a military base. But Selective Service is the list. The registration is the list. So, up until let me see. I think it was Jimmy Carter. He kind of made it, I guess, voluntary in the 80s or whatever, 70s, 80s. So when I turned 18, I had to go to the post office, and you fill out this little form, Selective Service form, kind of a thing. And so now the military is saying, we don't got enough people. Military is not at the same strength it used to be. So we're going to make this shit mandatory, automatic. Now, some people might say, well, if the military is low, okay, maybe that's okay. But here's the other piece. Now that's on the House side, right? When I look at the Senate side, and I'll flash this up on the screen, the Senate Armed Services Committee got a line of code in there. And I'll say code, I mean legislation, okay? Amends, so this is, let's see, Section 3, strengthening the joint force and defense workforce, amends the Military Selective Service Act to require the registration of women for selective service. Now, women have never had to register for selective service before, so this is new. Now, I don't know how many of y'all got daughters, but I do not want my daughters over in fucking Ukraine. I don't want my daughters in fucking South Pacific fighting, over in China. I don't want that. And that's really what it's for, okay? In my opinion, in my non-military expert opinion, I think that's what this is for. Why? Because they run out of people in Ukraine. Remember, devils like Lindsey Graham was saying, are we going to fight to the last Ukrainian? And that sounds hip, unless you're Ukrainian and poor. Because that's who gets, sent to the front lines first. It's not the wealthy. See, for people who follow the war on Telegram like I do, you see a lot of shit. You see some teenagers, you see pregnant women, you see old men fighting on the Ukrainian side. You know what you also see? In Kiev, right, on the west side, you see parties, you see discos. Those are the wealthier people that don't got to worry about conscription. Okay, in Ukraine, they got gangs of dudes in vans rolling around the city, yanking people out of cafes, off the street. There was this one fight they showed where the guy was with his girlfriend. They grabbed the guy. The girlfriend was fighting. The girlfriend bit the dude, bit the military. You can't even say recruiter, the military kidnapper guy, and he showed the bite mark on his arm. She pushed, he pushed her away, of course, threw his ass in the van. We can't pretend like that's not coming to America. Because see, I remember when Trump was in office, and they had all these marches, right? The Antifa people mingling with the Black Lives Matter people. And I remember law enforcement or military rolling up in vans, unmarked rented vans with the black stripe over their badge, snatching folk off the street, throwing them in the vans and driving off. I remember seeing that because we live in an age where everybody got a fucking camera, okay? Particularly the soldiers. So it's not just America that's trying to. Now this is a bill, okay? This is a bill, and it's put into the funding for the NDAA, okay, the National Defense Authorization Act. I knew that would come to my 55-year-old brain at some point. So it's not just America, right? Macron, that guy over in France, he's talking about sending jets and sending 4,500 soldiers, right? 4,500 soldiers over there. Now, initially, Sunak, the Indian dude, they voted for I don't know if they voted. They selected him for the prime minister over in England. And I mention Indian dude particularly because of this. He's talking about we need to bring back conscription. They call it conscription over there. And I was watching this one particular clip, if memory serves. You know, there was a time. Remember, this is an Indian dude, okay? A wealthy, young Indian. When I say young, he looked like he might be in his 40s, maybe 50s, but he looked like he's 40s. There was a time when the UK military was the best in the world. Da, da, da. And it's like, yeah, motherfucker. When they had you as a colony, you know what I'm saying? It's like, you Indian, man. You don't remember. Come on, fam. But anyway, I don't want to get into that. He Indian. What the hell? But anyway, we got one over here. So the point I'm trying to make is this, right? He's talking about, we're going to have 18-year-olds register, and we got about 700,000 people, but we're going to take a minority. I'm reading the article in the APN News. We're going to take about 30,000 people, and they're going to do some desk work, right? Logistics, cybersecurity, whatever. Logistics is, moving stuff around or whatever. And then maybe some charity work, community service, bullshit. They running out of people in the Ukraine. See, what happened was, just in case y'all don't know, the Western media is painting Russia as this evil bad guy. It's almost like comic books, right? Remember I told you about the comic book thing? It's almost like they're painting Putin. They don't even say Russia. They just say Putin. So they kind of personalize it, right? Make him to be the bad guy. I have a theory that America would disappear if it didn't have an enemy. Not physically, but the idea, the ego of America would disappear if it didn't have an enemy. So it always has to have enemies. So instead of thinking of the Russian people as somebody who wake up in the morning, have breakfast, go to work, take care of their kids, pay their bills, hopefully retire and die, instead of thinking of them that way, we got to think of Putin and them as the evil. Russia has borders with Ukraine, a long border with Ukraine. And Russia told, Biden and them, don't make Ukraine part of NATO, because when you remember NATO, you get a Christmas present. You know what that is? It's nuclear weapons. They put nuclear weapons. And what's happening is, y'all already know that America got about 800 bases around the world. Well, all around Russia, they're NATO members. And a lot of them got nukes. And Russia's like, you can't have nukes at our border. That won't give us time to prepare in case y'all try to do something crazy. You're just not going to do it. And so that's a reasonable request, right? Because America wouldn't allow it. If you do a little bit of research, you'll find that there's nobody in the Western Hemisphere besides America that got nukes because America would not allow it. Canada don't have it. Mexico don't have none of them. They don't have nukes because America wants to be the only nuclear power in the whole Western Hemisphere, because that's the way they define their national security interests. Well, years ago, back in the 60s, before some of us was born, America quietly put nukes in Turkey, which is not too far from Russia. This is in the 60s when they were still the Soviet Union over there. And Russians heard about it. And they said, the fuck? And so they called up Cuba. And Cuba was like, solid bet, I got you. So they sent some ships over to Cuba and they installed some nuclear missiles in Cuba, not too far from America. Kennedy, right? JFK found about it. The fuck? You know what I mean? And so, it was this whole thing. And it could have been the end of us, because there was some, planes got shot down and some miscommunication, and somebody thought it was a nuke, and the Russians was about to blow the shit up. And then the guy with the button said, no, I'm not going to do it. And it turned out to be a false flag, blah, 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 blah. The spirits was with us. The ancestors looked out, and we still here. Well, Kennedy called Khrushchev, and they negotiated. And Kennedy was like, if you take the missiles out of Cuba in a couple of months, we'll take them out of Turkey and another place. And so that supposedly happened, and everything cooled out. Well, it's a difference between now and then. One, Blinken, he's not even talking to Russia, his Russian counterpart. He's not even talking to Lavrov. It's like, can I say it like this? I'm talking to the men, the older men. You ever met a woman with a temper? And sometimes she'll haul off and say some foul shit, or sometimes even try to strike you. Why? Because she know deep down inside you the rational being, you got a code, and you're not going to hurt her. That's the way they run in our American foreign policy, like an angry woman, where they being all irrational. They keep all these provocations going, and they trust in you, meaning Putin, meaning Russia, meaning the CCP, right? The Communist Party over there, to be the rational party and not to knock us the fuck out. That's the way it is. That's the only way it makes sense. He's like, oh, we can't let China get control of the Taiwanese. Whatever happened to investing in your own educational system, your own infrastructure? You got DARPA. You got the military. You got all these universities. Make your own chips. But we can't do that. We got to, But I don't get into that. So the point I'm trying to make is that they starting all of these wars, and so they're going to need bodies to throw at it. And that's where this selective service thing comes in. So first, they're going to register all the males. Now, it's interesting because when I read it, right, and I'm reading this clip that I see on, oh, by the way, remember I told you about the Ukraine thing? This has been going on for 2 years now. Russia has burned through all of the Ukrainian regular soldiers. They almost got rid of all their elite forces because it's a soldier on soldier. Now they down to old men, women, and children. I'm looking at this article in the Sunday Times. What's this? I don't know if this is a British paper. Anyway, it's a clip on Telegram. Twitter. It says a Ukrainian average soldier is 43. How can they keep Putin at bay? They done burned through all the young men. They basically lost a generation. Now, I'm not celebrating over this. It's horrible anytime one man got to kill another man, particularly for some rich folk who don't give a fuck. Okay? I don't have a whole lot of love. I met one Ukrainian in my life. He was good people. One Ukrainian, personally, in my life, he was good people. But these motherfuckers over here, they is straight neo-Nazis. And you say, oh, they're not neo-Nazis. Well, you haven't done your research. I was watching the special military operation, that's what Russia calls it, from the beginning, from February. And they captured a lot of people's paraphernalia, their books, and there's posters, and their Nazi flags, and the guys with the tattoos everywhere and shit. And not only that, they have the Nazis, the Ukrainians have the Bandera was one of their guys, right? One of their heroes from the war. And he worked with Hitler when they was trying to invade Russia through Ukraine. And so they have like a candlelit torches march, for Bandera and everything. And it's funny because, let me sidebar. Everybody got a phone, right? Everybody got a phone. The soldiers got phones, GoPros. They posted everything up to the internet. These Russians motherfuckers they got the wildest sense of humor. They be posting clips with music, with comedy and shit, and it's the funniest thing. But anyway, I've seen a lot of. I can't watch everything. The point I'm trying to make is that they run through all of their competent soldiers, so now they putting old people up there. So I'm 55. So if I was over there and Ukrainian, I'd be snatched off the street, given a week's worth of training, a gun in my hand, and thrown into the trenches. That's what's happening. And the reason why these people are getting killed off so much it's not even man to man, it's drone to man. You know, when this thing first started, they was buying drones. They was using drones, if I remember correctly. They bought them from Iran. The Iranians put motors in them from China. Moped motors, fam, when they first started. So if y'all ever heard of moped, it's like when we was a kid, we would take a playing card and tape it to our the fork in our 10-speed or a bicycle, and they would make that flapping sound. That's what it sounded like. Oh shit! And they was and the drones were suicide drones running the people, running the trucks. Some of them. Then now what they're doing is they're dropping. Let me see. They're dropping little. They just fly over the trench, and they just drop, and then it hit and boom. So that's what's been killing people. Now, when the Russians find them, if they surrender, they take them alive, they feed them, clothe them, send them to medical. You know, they bandage them up, and they get such good treatment that a lot of Ukrainians are just surrendering. Because let's face it, they all the same people. They're all Slavs. They all the same people. So anyway, I don't get it. The point I'm trying to make is they're around the people, and so the West, America in particular, wants to keep this war going. Because the idea is it's a lot of resources over there in the ground. The topsoil in Ukraine is like world famous. If I remember the story correctly, when Hitler was over there, they were telling him about the soil, how it's like, several feet deep, like topsoil. He was having them dig up the topsoil and put it on trucks and train and send it back to Germany. That's the story that I heard. So anyway, and Lindsey Graham spilled the beans the other day talking about they got all kinds of minerals and stuff over there, and we can't let Putin share it with Z and the whole thing. But they want to. So what the Russians call this situation the meat grinder. They put you just put in Ukrainian, just throw them in front of us, and because the thing about Russia is they got a regular army. They got a regular army, and they got people volunteering as opposed to Ukraine where they got to run and grab you and take you in the street. They got people volunteering because they realize it's an existential threat. It's an imminent threat to their way of life. Now, let me wrap this up. It's kind of funny. Sometimes in IT, you'll see, and I'll bring this back around. Sometimes in IT, you'll see the bad guys, the good guys act like the bad guys. What I mean by that? I'm not going to call out can I call it out? Okay, this is my opinion, so I guess it's okay to say it. So McAfee, right? A very famous antivirus program. Very famous. Everybody used it back in the day. In my opinion, there was a period of time where McAfee was acting like malware, where every time you would install a program, it was also a package to install McAfee, and you had to uncheck it, or else it would just install. It's like, I don't want McAfee. I just want, Winamp or whatever the program is, Napster or whatever it is he was installing, and it would behave that way. Okay, so because they were just trying to be aggressive and maintain their market share or whatever. So we got Microsoft with this recall feature they're about to put out. They call it a feature. It sounds like malware because they screenshotting your screen. Now, and back in the day, we would say that's malware, right? Key logging, that's malware. That's something that the bad guys do. Screenshots, that's something that the bad guys do. So now Microsoft is trying to pass it off as a feature, right? Well, to me, my thought is that this open borders thing, I think, is a feature, right? It's a bad policy that they're going to masquerade as a feature, right? Because when you look at who's coming across the border, it's mostly young men. Back in the day, it was families mostly. Remember? Because during Obama's time and stuff, they talked about putting the kids separated from the parents. Ain't none of that. It's mostly what they call military age men. And they giving them benefits. They giving them, they cross the border. They don't do no real heavy check. And so my thought is, what if they're using them they're going to be the new cannon fodder. These guys are going to get into the system. They're going to give them a little piece of money, right? They're going to get their name and stuff. They're going to address, some of these illegal foreign nationals is squatting in people's houses and won't leave, right? But they'll get, utilities in their name. So they're getting into the system. And it's like, yes, keep doing it. Yeah, a little further. Come on. You're going to get, some of them getting Social Security, I heard. Illegal foreign nationals getting Social Security. Not them paid dime one into the system. But now you in there. And so you probably going to be automatically, in my opinion, registered. Now, when I read this thing that they got in here, it's a little unclear. I'll just read it briefly for you. It says, and this is Title D, recruitment, selective service, automatic registration, military, It says, except as otherwise provided in this title, every male citizen of the United States and every male person. So citizen and person, every male citizen and every other male person residing in the United States between the ages of 18 and 26 shall be automatically registered under this act by the director of the Selective Service System. That's pretty fucking clear to me. It says two people who live in the United States that are male. You got the citizens and you got the people that's not citizens. Them motherfuckers got to register, and they're going to be registered automatically. So I think those are going to be the next kind of fodder. Now, that was kind of annoying, but really annoyed me was this. I think I read it before. That's from the House side. From the Senate side, it's a squeeze play. Amends. Okay, so this is the Senate Armed Services Committee. Amends the Military Selective Service Act that requires the registration of women. So why wouldn't the women automatically be auto-registered as well between the ages of 18 and 26? I'm pretty sure it's all going to be the same thing. So, I end with this. I remember, Dick Gregory was the man. God rest his soul. I watched every single interview he did on YouTube. And Dick and Judge Joe Brown kind of filled in that gap, once Dick Gregory left. And one thing that Judge Joe Brown said, he said, one thing the system does is it warehouses labor. And one of the ways you warehouse excess labor is in prison. And so, I kind of see capitalism as instead of, because they already got the most people locked up on the planet Earth in America, right? But, they use them for free labor and things of that nature. But I think the other place that they warehouse labor is the military. And I think they're going to use all of these guys from all these different countries to fight in America's wars. So, I'm going to call my, whatever's worth, I'm going to call my congressional representative on Monday. I got the little shit in my calendar. Tell him vote no on this auto. I ain't gonna lie to you, I'm a little iffy on the auto registration thing for the guys, but definitely no for the women. I don't want the women out there. We can't, come on now. Because it's only going to be the poor in the working class to do it. It's not going to be the wealthy. The Biden children and all them people, the wealthy people, they're not going to have to do this. They're going to find some kind of exemption. It's going to be the poor, just like in Ukraine. The people who couldn't afford to leave the country. The people who's not partying in Kiev. Those are the people that's going to be snatched. So this is Jonathan Soul, jonathansoul.com. I just wanted to keep you guys informed. I hadn't podcasted in a minute, but this was important. So I had to let you guys know. Love you guys. Take care of yourselves and your family. Peace.